Yo, what's up everybody? Thank you all for giving this video a click. My name's Tyler. I'm going to be watching a game today between Fire, a member of Tyrant, and mbl40c, a member of Nabs. If anybody wants to tell me what mbl40c means, I'd love to hear it. This is a Frank's War, and it's an interesting game because both players have the same problem. They both have their resources all in the front. So we can see that Fire's main gold, Fire's here in red, is in the front. His secondary stone, his main stone, his secondary gold, and his berries are all in the front. And in addition, he doesn't really have a lot of opportunity to wall this map up. On the other side, this guy I'll be calling M, since I don't know what his name means or how it's pronounced. He's got the same problem. M has his main gold in the front, secondary gold in the front, berries in the front, stone in the front. Not a good map for him either. And the reason I wanted to show this game is that both of these players approach having a bad map differently, and we'll see both strategies at play here. So we can see right off the bat that Fire's putting 3 on wood. The 4th villager will determine if he's going to go for a drush here, and let's see, where's that 4th villager go? So that 4th villager doesn't go to wood, so that means we probably won't be seeing a drush out of Fire. Meanwhile, on the other side, M does have 4 villagers on wood. It looks like he will go for a drush, and it's not a bad strategy. You know, all of his resources are on the front. If he can drush and get his opponent on the defensive, then he has a good chance of collecting his resources without a lot of harassment. So let's fast forward a bit here. Very basic Dark Age, just eating up the sheep, moving villagers to berries, has a few on wood. Nothing surprising at all. I did want to show a little bit of this game with Fog of War on, which we'll do in just a second, from Fire's point of view. The reason is sometimes it's good to watch a pro player react to what they see. So now that Fire knows that he has a bad map and he has his sheep, he's going to send a scout forward, and let's just see what he observes and see how he reacts to it. So you can see here that he's moving in closer to where M's town center is. We can see him moving along this tree line, and he's going to find him very shortly. We'll just fast forward until that moment comes. He's got a little bit of a score lead because of his extra scouting compared to M. And we can see here that he's just about to find that stone. Go find that stone. Okay, there it is. He's keeping an eye on his scout. You can see he turns away immediately, sensing that the town center is probably close to that, being one of the early houses. And he's actually just going to make a circle around where he thinks the town center is. He finds M's berries, he finds his 2 initial houses and his stone, and he also knows that his town center is here. You can see that Fire is up to feudal age, whereas M is going to drush, and Fire has just now scouted it. Always good to be scouting. You can see that this minor gold is in front, and he's just going to hang around near that drush until it takes off. And this was kind of a cool point of the game. You know, it's always nice to scout a drush, but what Fire does is he actually follows a drush. And a lot of this time, the drush is just on the outskirts of his scout's vision. So if we go to M's point of view, we can see that he knows that scout's there, but he can't always see it, and that's pretty cool. Fire following along the whole time, but not easily detected. So we'll turn off Fog of War for a minute and fast forward. Fire knows that a drush is coming. He knows it's headed toward these berries, which he can defend easily. It's always easy to defend a drush when you know where it's coming from. You can see his villager here is just going to drop a palisade, and that drush is not going to do anything to these berries. Fire's now up to feudal. M over here lambing a deer. We're going to see Fire start to build a bit of a makeshift wall across the front of his base. A little scout fighting there, and the first thing to go down for Fire is going to be a stable. So he's going to have a stable, he's going to clear up this drush, he's blocked off these 2 villagers so they can't be cornered in there, and he's just going to fight this drush with 4 villagers. Pretty standard. In addition, he got the scout without losing too much HP on his scout. Pretty good micro. So if you're Fire now, you know you have a bad map. I think he senses from Fog of War that M may not have a great map either. You know, he knows at least some of his resources are on the front. And he knows that he's up to feudal, and he's going to have a few minutes before Nabs is up, M is up. You can see here he's just fighting off this drush, Loses his scout there, not ideal, but overall just cleaning that drush up. Now this is a cool point in this game. Fire sees that this drush is leaving, it's not really doing any more harassment, and we can actually watch that drush hang out in the back of his base for a while, basically hiding. So in the meantime, since Fire wants to keep the offensive going, since his resources are all in the front, he sends 3 villagers forward. And what you're thinking here is probably a tower rush. So if we keep watching this video, we know that Fire can't see those militia, but he knows he's not being harassed. He's going to send scouts back to clean that up. In the meantime, M is doing basically a second version of the strategy, which instead of being offensive in Feudal Age, he was offensive in the Dark Age, and then he's walled up. And he'll probably try to go for a fast castle. In the meantime, Fire's sending these 3 villagers forward. Somebody let me know why pro players build a palisade when their villagers are coming forward. They never actually build it. They just click to build it, which makes me wonder if it makes the villagers walk faster. So leave that in the comments if you know the answer. You can see here he's just going to clean this drush up, not too difficult. 3 scouts and a spear and a villager versus 3 militia. A little bit of micro from Fire to save some HP on this scout, and that's easy enough. In the meantime, Fire's building a forward archery range, and he's going to use these 3 villagers to continue to build up a forward. It's great to be aggressive when your resources are in such vulnerable positions. And we'll watch him come forward here at fast speed with what looks like 5 scouts, and with a few skirmishers early on. And we're going to see him come up to this wood line, build an outpost, and let's just see what Fire sees when he builds that outpost. So back to Fog of War. Sorry, it doesn't look that good. And now he's, with the scouts, he's seen these villagers. He's going to put down a watchtower, and what he's doing here is dual purpose. He's got the skirmishers to, 1, protect this wall, and in this case, since they're not going back to repair this wall, they're distracting these villagers from building the watchtower. And that's just going to slow that down a little bit. Unfortunately for Fire, there's 6 villagers there, and they're going to get that up in time. But what is nice is he has a good chance at getting through this palisade. Only 60 health left. So if we fast forward this a little, we can see that M, being a pro player, does the smart thing, and he puts down a couple of palisades as a secondary wall. And that's really wise, because this palisade had 10 health left. We can see here that he does have his tower up, and M is going to win that fight. He's got 5 villagers in that tower. He's going to easily take this tower out. Fire, meanwhile, has moved on to another piece of the palisade. He's given up on his tower, but he hasn't lost his villagers. So Fire's making the best of what is kind of annoying sometimes, which is being walled out of your opponent's base. I think he probably assumes that M is fast castling here, since there's no military here to resist him, just walls. And M is doing a really good job. He's building up a secondary level of containment here, which is pretty frustrating if you're Fire. By the time he gets through that wall, he's going to find out that this is all stone-walled and housed up. But this is good if you think about it. These 4 villagers were just spending time building walls. 5 of M's villagers are in this watchtower at the moment, and the 6 villagers here building some houses. None of those villagers are collecting resources, which is always an advantage to you to have your opponent reacting to your offense. This tower will eventually go down, but until it does, 5 of these villagers are going to be wasting their resource gathering time. We can see here Fire's going to do the same thing again. He's going to attack these palisades and try to push through. M, being a very good pro player, is going to build another secondary level of containment. And this strategy can't work really well if you can hold your opponent out. The problem is, usually the more aggressive player gets some advantages. In this case, Fire's advantage has been pushing M off of his front small gold, pushing M off of his stone now, and delaying these 5 villagers from collecting resources. And we can just see that Fire's going to keep this pressure on. He is still building more military units in the Feudal Age. He has not yet clicked up. Meanwhile, M clicked up quite a while ago and is going to have a pretty good advantage in Castle Age time. And we can see that secondary level of containment is holding Fire out, which has to be frustrating. These villagers here are again distracted from gathering resources, which is always good, and they're actually going to build a tertiary level of containment. So if you're Fire, you're probably a little bit annoyed. But Fire's up here trying to make a hole in the top of this wall. He's down here trying to do some harassment, and he's distracting a few villagers. Still not up to Castle Age. We can see M here doing the smart thing, which is to build a siege workshop. He'll be able to take these guys out. What he really doesn't want is for that pressure to push him to wall out this gold. That's pretty much going to be game over for him. And if we look at the resources real quick, we can see that M doesn't have a lot of food and wood, but he's gathered a lot of gold. Meanwhile, Fire has just enough to go to Castle Age, so we should see him click any moment. Does he have the buildings? It looks like he must, because he just clicked up. Where is... Oh, there's the blacksmith. Okay. So Fire's now up. He's got some skirmishers here doing some harassment. He's got some scouts out here doing some harassment. But all in all, he's not getting through, and he's losing, frankly. You know, if he doesn't get through these walls relatively soon, M is going to have a lot of opportunity to boom up. We should see a second town center really soon, either here or in the front. So you can see here Fire's trying to work his way through. He's being housed out again, not making any progress. He's going to move to this palisade, and the villager's just going to walk over and wall that palisade up. Interestingly here, Fire sent a skirmisher through, since there is now a hole in this wall. This town center was built by knocking down some walls to put it up. There is a mangonel there defending, and he's actually going to get some hits on these guys over here. But there is now a hole in the wall, and we'll see what Fire decides to do. So let's move forward a little. You can see that mangonel doing some harassing. Fire here is going to, this is an important point in this game, he's going to take a risk and run right under this town center to get his scouts in. You know, he couldn't get through the walls. He kept getting houses built in front of those palisades, and he couldn't get in. So he decided to take a risk, take some arrows to these scouts, but in the end he does get them through. And what he does is really smart. Instead of going to try to take on villagers, he's going to run these scouts out to the edge and start attacking these walls. Now that Fire's on the inside, attacking the walls from the inside, any villagers who come to try to wall him out will get attacked by these scouts. So that's a really smart pro move that I might not have thought of. You know, I would have headed for this wood line. I would have gotten a few villagers, but I would have lost these scouts, and I would have lost my advantage. In this case, Fire, being a really smart pro player, is going to get some harassment. He looks like he's going to get this villager, and he will. And hopefully he can get a hole in these walls from the inside. So let's just see. And another important thing to point out here is that he's camping some skirmishers here so that M cannot get to his berries without being harassed. He's camping a skirmisher here to make it so that no villagers can gather gold without being harassed. And here he is trying to work on this wall. He's going to take a jab from that spear, but in the end, I think that will go down. And this poor young lady is also going to go down. Yep, she's not going to make it. So Fire putting the pressure on here. It looks like he's going to pounce through this wall, or break through this wall rather, and he'll be inside. Meanwhile, Nab's just trying to defend with a mangonel. Alright. We can see him just slowly working on that wall. Not paying enough attention to the scouts. Almost took a hit. I think he's about to take a hit here, and he does. Loses a scout, but it doesn't matter because he's going to be through in just a couple more hits with that little tiny scout sword. And this is a big moment. I mean, he knows that his opponent is on 2 town centers. He probably senses a third here because of those farms. He knows that M is booming, and that he's now in, and he needs to basically continue to harass. So we see another spear coming over from M. We see him playing some good defense with that mangonel, but he does have a hole, and there are more knights coming. Okay, so Fire's on the inside, And what he does really well here is get some harassment without leaving this hole too far behind. You know, if a villager's going to get to that hole, he's going to have to walk up through here, here, or here, and Fire can kind of see all three of those access points. So as far as he can tell, that should be totally safe. And if we turn off Fog of War, we can see that there are no villagers there to close the hole. And he's just here harassing. Looks like he'll get that mangonel. And all of these villagers are inside now, firing arrows, which is exactly where you don't want your villagers to be. You want your villagers out gathering, of course. These knights, now there's 3 of them. Looks like he's going to take a few hits from this spear, but they are in here, they are harassing. Meanwhile, the scouts are just here keeping an eye on any villagers who might try to sneak up to fix that wall. And here's an interesting thing that Fire does. Both players are Castle Age. You know, scouts are not as powerful as they are in the Feudal Age, and you see Fire's just going to camp these 2 scouts down at the bottom of the map. What's really cool about that is, again, that M can't see those scouts, which could be a major advantage. You know, there's a lot of pressure here on the front of the map. This gold's been taken away. This hole he's hoping to plug up, but for now there's holes. There's a lot of harassment from knights. It would suggest that M might try to either build out this way or out back this way. And if he does do that and he sends a villager or 2, then Fire's going to be in position to take them out. So let's keep this game going. I just heard a villager die. He's still harassing with these skirmishers, although they're too close to this town center. And it looks like they are going to end up dead. Meanwhile, he's kept this open. He's bringing more knights in, and there's a cav archer as well. M is going to try to counter this with a monk, and it looks like he will get a convert here. Yep, gets a convert. So that's good. He's going to bring some monks in to try to defend, but in the end, he's purely defensive. And this strategy looks really good. Ooh, he's walled him out. But meanwhile, Fire has broken through in another spot. All in all, this is a really good strategy for Fire. He's got 2 town centers up. He's easily here mining his gold, not being bothered at all by his opponent. He's got plenty of villagers, plenty of farms, and in the meantime, his opponent has villagers in this town center having to defend. He's got villagers here having to build the walls up, and he is slowly building back toward these scouts, which might provide Fire with an easy villager kill as well. Another villager going down there trying to wall up, and this is starting to look like a really formidable army. You can see Fire here coming forward to build a town center on that wood. That will give him advance warning if an army's coming in. We can see another convert there, but this monk is going to go down, looks like. And all the while, these villagers are just constantly holed up in this town center, and they're not doing work. And you can see Fire's coming out to a pretty big lead here. Some of that's because he has a lot more military, but a lot of it's just because his villagers are gathering while M's villagers are housed up in a town center. And these villagers jumping in there quick to defend. Fire housed for just a moment. And here's where we can see Fire's hidden scouts are going to be useful. M is going to come back to build a mill so we can get more farms up. Makes sense, he's trying to boom his economy. Fire's scouts here can see these villagers. He doesn't want to take on 4 with these scouts, especially since 1 is on very low HP. But we can see from M's point of view that he still can't see these scouts because of those villagers' low line of sight. So Fire is hidden in the shadows, and he's just going to wait, and let's see if a villager wanders over to him. You can see them coming out, building more farms. Meanwhile, harassment up at the top, and here we go. Fire's going to come in with those 2 scouts, even though they're on low HP. They catch this villager by surprise. You know, M probably forgot that they were MIA. He didn't know where they were, and now they're just killing vegetables, but they got that villager nonetheless. Meanwhile, on the front, these villagers are again housed up in this town center, and they are not gathering resources. These knights, pretty resistant to arrows, are just doing harassment, moving around. Meanwhile, in the back, these scouts are starting to become a real pain. They've got villagers distracted over here. The knights fighting in the front, Fire coming out to a pretty big lead at this point. Now he's got villagers all holed up in this town center, trying to kill the scout. Second monastery up, hoping to get some more knights, and there's the good game from M. So again, I wanted to show this game because both players had terrible maps, and they both took on different strategies. You know, Fire went offensive in the feudal age, and he really went for it. I think he built 5 or 6 scouts total, and those scouts were trying to hack away at these walls, while M sent a drush and walled up. He was booming behind these walls until he made a small mistake of leaving a little hole. Fire ran through that hole, and he used his scouts very wisely to attack the inside of the wall. Instead of sending them for villagers, he sent them to bust a hole in the wall. The villagers that came to repair that hole were killed, and he was in. And the rest is just streaming in some knights, and he had that nice little hidden scout move here, hiding his scouts in the shadow. So all in all, this is a really good win from Fire. He was really aggressive. He didn't give up. You know, I'm sure he was frustrated being walled out with these secondary and tertiary levels of walls. But in the end, he was able to take away stone and some of the gold from M, and he was able to get inside and get the win. So thank you all for clicking on this video and taking a watch of it. I appreciate it. Please leave me any comments about the video and let me know why this palisade was built by the villagers coming forward. Does it make them walk faster? And yeah, let me know any general comments. Thanks again. My name's Tyler, and that is all.